Today's guest is Matthew Dale. Matt has led capture and proposal leadership efforts in pursuit of U.S. federal government contracts, 2.3 billion worth of awarded tenders over the course of his career. He has contributed to the win strategy and writing proposals and have secured 35 billion pounds of awards, specializing in U.S. Department of Defense, U.S. Federal Law Enforcement Agency procurements. After completing reserve training as part of U.S. Naval Reserve Officer Training Corps NROTC program and graduating from the Virginia Military Institute, Matt went on to work as a nonprofit executive for the Boy Scouts of America. There he puts his writing skill to use to secure grants to support youth programs. Transitioning from a nonprofit executive role to that of a bid and proposal professional, he quickly grew up from proposal coordinator to a proposal manager to a department head, where he was responsible for securing long-term contract awards for his company by leading and managing the capture, proposal development, and comparative intelligence functions. That's interesting. Today, as an executive consultant with Shipley Associates, Matt has over 10 plus years of project management, team building, and leadership experience. He holds a master's degree in organizational leadership, certification as bid and proposal practitioner and capture practitioner from APMP, and a certified federal contract manager. That's a lot of degrees, Matt. And he serves as adjunct professor at James Madison University College of Business, where he has taught in interpersonal skills and management and organizational behavior to undergraduate business majors. He is also the faculty advisor to the New Psi chapter of the Alpha Kappa Psi business fraternity at James Madison University and sits on the board of advisors of the university's Richmond School of Professional and Continual Studies Customer Experience Certificate Program. Matt, thank you for having this time to join me, Matt. There is so much to talk. And I know I've skipped some of your bio. We will catch up on the talk. Welcome to Scribble Talk Back. Great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Bhaskar. Great to be here.
Perfect. Matt, let's go back to the very beginning. Where were you born? And let's talk about your early life in primary schools.
Sure. So I was born in Elmira, New York, so upstate New York, as the folks from my neck of the woods like to say. We're not associated with those folks from the five boroughs, although we love them. We are from upstate New York, so that's where I was born and raised, in the Finger Lakes region of New York. And early life, pretty uneventful, I suppose. Standard grade school experience, camps in the summer, and worked my way up to graduating secondary school and went south to Virginia to go to college.
Perfect. From New York to Virginia, how was the transition?
Well, I decided to stay in Virginia. There was many reasons to go south for college, the primary of which I was a swimmer in high school, and I wanted to swim in college, and I started an application to the Naval Academy, but unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to swim, for the Naval Academy, so I just wasn't fast enough until probably my junior or senior year. But the brother, actually, of my high school coach was the coach at VMI, at Virginia Military Institute, and it was a Division I program, which is a top tier program in U.S. college sports, and I could swim there. And from day one, I'd be one of the faster folks. So decided to visit there, go down, see the campus, or the post as they call it, and fell in love with the place and decided to attend VMI and still do a military experience as far as a developmental role in college, in my college life, but not as part of one of the service academies, the oldest state-sponsored military academy in the U.S.
How was it studying in VMI, being part of the military campus? Did you have any memories of being part of VMI, doing your Bachelor of Arts in International Studies and Political Science?
Many. So just like most military academies, both in the U.S. and I would imagine around the world, your first year is is purposefully stressful. At VMI, they call it a rat year. At some of the service academies, they'll call it a plebe year. And I don't know what the equivalent is at any international academies, but your first year is a pretty regimented year, and so getting through that, in addition to doing an NCAA team, was a challenge. But one of the taglines of VMI is "Don't do ordinary," and they don't give you an ordinary college experience. So one of the more colloquialisms that one of the professors put up one day was, if you can put up with this level of artificial nonsense here at VMI, life will be a cakewalk for you. So going through all that was definitely a positive shaping experience, and the structure helped me mold what my head needed to be. And I think it translates today into the proposal bid management world, not only in time management and schedule management, but the ability to take VMI's one of the core systems is teaching leadership to their students, and generally anywhere in the world you go and there's a VMI grad, chances are they can pick up and lead a team in whatever situation they're in, because that's part of the formulation that they give us as part of our experience as cadets.
That's amazing. And why the major international studies in political science with a major in writing? Did you choose that yourself, or it just happened?
Yeah, so I chose international studies so it's VMI's unique combination of international relations, economics, and political science. So it was kind of a triple course of study, and I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do. I was not able to secure a scholarship from the Navy. So part of the U.S. Officer pipeline is to get not only officers from the service academies, but to put in programs in place at various colleges around the country called Reserve Officer Training Corps programs. And I attempted, and they'll pay for your college if you give them a 4-year commitment, just like the service academies. But unfortunately, the Navy wanted its officers to be able to do math. Math is not my thing. Turns out that's okay, because I went into the words business. But I spent a lot of time in my first semester trying to do a calc prep course and try to get math in my head. And one of the professors looked at me one day and said, "Mr. Dale, you've done everything I've asked you to do. You've come to all my office hours. You've done all of this work. You've done everything I've asked. So you just don't get it. You don't get it. So you should probably focus on something, friendly advice that does not involve numbers." Okay, got it. Thanks, sir. So declared an international studies major because I've always had an interest in politics and governance and how nation states work. And it's actually one of the major takeaways from the degree was nation states are they're just people. They're made up of a bunch of individuals, or in some cases throughout the world, they still are one individual, unfortunately. But if you can figure out how people work, you can figure out how nation states work, because it's just a conglomeration up. And so delving into how they make decisions and the economic and international relational aspect, which was very interesting to me. And again, it was kind of in preparation for gallivanting around the world on a naval vessel, but that didn't happen. So it actually has put given me a lot of good insight into how to manage teams. Because like I said, if you can do it on a macro level, country to country, and you can figure out how they make decisions or how they interact with each other, then it's a really good bet that you can distill that to the micro level and put it to teams of people. And especially in the world that we operate in, we're an international organization, right? APNP, your network, it's international, right? The bid and proposal professional world is relatively small, and we have an international network, and being able to take into account different people's cultures, different people's preconceived notions of here's how we do things when you're building a team across international borders is invaluable. So it worked out. It worked out.
Nice. So once you complete your bachelor's degree, did you went on to do your reserve training, or you went on to do your Masters of Arts? Talk us through your next step there, Matthew.
Yeah, so the reserve training concluded when I graduated VMI. So as part of being a cadet, you go through a reserve training component with one of the military branches, and I chose, like I said, the Navy in anticipation of doing a full-time career in the Navy. But got the benefit of the reserve training anyway, and I'm pretty sure I'm on a list somewhere that if something happens, I at least have some knowledge of something, and I'll get a phone call. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but have that in my background. And then, as you mentioned, I went to work as a nonprofit executive for the Boy Scouts of America. And during that time, I pursued a master's degree in organizational leadership, which is a relatively, I don't want to call it a new construct. It's becoming more and more prevalent throughout universities, at least in the United States. But it's a peer to the MBA, a Master's of Business Administration, and actually the MBA students and the MAOL students took the exact same classes for the first year, and then for the second year of the degree, the MBAs went left and they went into managing the business, right? The administration of the business, and it's numbers and spreadsheets, and here's how you manage the actual apparatus. And then the MAOL, the organizational leadership folks, we turned right and we went to, how do you lead people? We don't want to manage resources. We want to lead people. And I chose that direction because aforementioned story of, I don't do well with numbers. And I know that. Got it. I keep people close to me that are good with numbers, because I know I can't. But doing the organizational leadership piece, the thing that sold me on the degree was, hey, if you can have all the management in the world and you can have all the systems in the world, but what's really going to bite you is if your people aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing inside of that system, or if you have people that just cannot get on the same page because there's so much conflict going on inside of your team that you can't get anything done. So by becoming self-aware of my leadership style as part of the program and learning more about how to take a team of individuals and build them into a well-oiled machine, both at the micro and the macro level, and how to manage people, because resources, money, machinery, whatever, it will do what it's supposed to do when it's supposed to do it. It breaks, whatever. But people, they can be ornery. They get up on the wrong side of the bed. They can have an emotional reaction to something and send a meeting spiraling out of control. There's a lot of things about people that are really, really valuable to have a handle on if you're trying to lead them, especially in our business. If you're under a timeline that says, hey, you have 30 days, and 30 days is not very long to get a tender in. And so you got to whip those folks into shape and be able to manage the conflict, and at the same time do it as a happy warrior. be happy about the fact that we're sitting here doing this job. Don't slog. Yeah, we're gonna have to burn some midnight oil at some point, but cheer up. So working through that master's degree program while at the same time having a nonprofit executive experience of doing everything with volunteers, which means I have 0% authority and I have to use 100% influence to try and accomplish my professional goals, was a really, really good learning experience for me. And it's something I lean on every day.
Nice. That was amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Matt. And from grant writing, you moved into full-fledged proposal management, not just writing bids, but becoming a leader of the bid team. Talk us through the transition of writing grants all the way into writing complex proposals and also elevating yourself to leadership positions within your organization.
Sure. So I decided I wanted to get out of nonprofit world. Anybody who's ever worked in a nonprofit knows you don't do it for the money, you don't do it for the fame. You got to have a fire in your stomach. You got to have a dedication to the mission that drives you beyond anything else. And it after 5 or 6 years of doing that, I was worn out, burnt out, and needed to do something else, at least for a little while. So I actually went to work for one of my volunteers, who was the owner and CEO of a small business that was in our area. And I said, and his name was Bill. And I said, Bill, you and I've worked together. I think I got my head screwed on straight. how can I help you? I will do, what do you want me to do? I will figure out a way to be valuable to you. And he said, well, I don't hire friends, but I do think there might be something. So I'm going to give you to my executive team. And if you can get past them and they want to hire you, I'll hire you. So, okay, cool. So the position that the company had just opened, it kind of flows into, I'm a firm believer in the fact that everything happens for a reason. And you just got to figure out what that is. So they had just the company had just decided to expand their proposal shop from one person, who was to become my boss, doing proposals, literally one person proposal shop. And anybody who's ever worked in those knows that's a big ask for a one person show to do it all, literally. So they decided that he needed some help. And so I got brought on in a coordinator role and said, I didn't know what the federal acquisition regulation was, the rules that govern how the U.S. government procures things. I didn't know anything about how to do a compliance matrix. I didn't know anything. And so the first thing they did is say, okay, you're going to be a proposal coordinator. I said, what's that mean? Well, we'll teach you. Okay, cool. And so I went off to school again. So I was fortunate enough that the company had budgeted to send me to Shipley courses, the Shipley leading and managing federal proposals and capturing federal business, and a whole slew of them. So you're going to go get a crash course, literally. You're going to go spend a week with some of the best in the business, and they're going to teach you their accepted gold standard. And you can, we need to tweak that because the Shipley process is something that it's a very well thought out, very deep process. But we can't do it all with two people. And that's okay, because as I found out when I got there to the course, one of the first things out of the instructor's mouth was, you don't need to do this entire process to be successful. You need to tailor it to your business and your resources. And it's an agile process intrinsically, because you can do these things in tandem. You don't need to do step by step methodically and be super rigid. It's not what it is. This is the massive thing that has the thought leaders have put together, and you need to internalize the key elements so that you can tailor it to your business. So that was one of the things that one of my things to bring back from the course was, congratulations, you went to the course. Now what? I had to write up as a deliverable an action plan for, okay, take what you learned and what are we going to do about it inside the company? Put together a plan of here's how we're going to improve our proposal development process and how you're going to be part of it. So they truly kind of threw me in the deep end, which was great for me. I like that. And so learned all of those. Took the Shipley course, the business development boot camp, and literally read the books, the guidebooks from cover to cover, and said, all right, here's what I think we're doing today, and here's what I think we should do tomorrow. And that was my first 6 or 7 months as a proposal coordinator, both doing the book learning and observing what was going on as almost a deputy proposal manager, frankly, for my boss, because he I was fortunate enough that I could pick it up really quick. And so I moved kind of from just the coordinator role. There's only 2 people, so it wasn't a solid lane, and just kind of picked up and said, yeah, tell me what you need. So learn the ropes and got competent enough to the point where they felt comfortable, the company, the leadership, that they could let me handle a proposal on my own. They're going to watch me like a hawk because I'd never done it before, at least as far as leading my own proposal and bringing away a win. But was able to do that and pull it off. And so I got put in a role as the proposal manager, and I also dual had it as the company's training coordinator. So I got to be able to build some training plans and influence the professionalization of our workforce company wide, because it turns out at least they thought I had a decent knack for putting together an action plan and somehow weaving through the company and getting it implemented. So had that hat for a couple of years as just a proposal manager, saying, hey, what do you need? Business development. And actually I was either sat in the capture chair and kind of learned on the job or helped our business development team execute a capture process, but also, here, hey guys, here's what the gold standard process for capture is, both APMP and Shipley and any combination thereof. It's like, look, you need to go talk to the customer, and here's some of the questions that you should ask to influence the bid and procurement. So grew the role, was reasonably successful as a proposal manager. I don't know the exact win rate, but anybody who does proposal management knows it's a team sport. So, somebody comes up to me and says, I have a 98% win rate. Oh, great. Guess you had a great team around you, and you had excellent prices around you, right? It's not the proposal manager's win, it's the team win, and it's the company win. So I had a good set of products, some good support systems from inside the company that really gave me what I needed when I asked for it, in terms of subject matter experts, in terms of color reviewers, and executive support, and we were reasonably successful. And as far as I remember, the only thing that we lost was we lost on price. We we lost. Sorry, somebody else bid underneath us. So 100% compliance, not 100% outstanding or super high ratings all the time, but never anything that the government or any of the customers we submitted to said, hey, you're missing this, or you have a weakness or deficiency. So that's something that, again, result of learning a process and keeping to that process, tailoring that process to our business needs, and using that to be successful. And for whatever reason, they decided to give me the department and move my gentleman who had been my boss to another role, and they said, here, take this. Okay, you guys really trusting in me. I don't know if that's a good idea. Like, no, you do it. If you don't do it successfully, we'll fire you. Like, okay, cool, got it. Roger that. Understood. So got to take on the role of being the formal department head in charge of the business development life cycle. So we had business development managers out in the field. They did not report to me. They were part of the sales team, but the securing of long-term contracts was the role. And from opportunity identification, putting out a capture plan, putting the company resources in place to execute that capture plan. Same thing with the proposal management plan, and eventually, with any luck, the win, and handing it off to the program management folks. So I hope that wasn't too much of a in-depth explanation, but that was the trajectory.
Totally, man. I mean, you are trying to explain your 10 years of your career in like 5-6 minutes, which actually we need to give you time. But that was fascinating. I think this is the kind of an inspirational journey for anyone who's listening to, what you started from, from VMI to grants, from nonprofit to get into a role, and then expanded your skill set to become the leader of the role. I think there are so much takeaways from that. Thank you for sharing that, Matt. And now you are doing what you're doing well. And then at what point in your career, did you then decide, okay, I want to do these additional certifications like the APMP certification, the proposer practitioner, capture practitioner, federal contracts manager, etc., and this nonprofit management certificate in bits and pieces? Did you do that while you were there, or did you do that after?
No, so I did all of those. So I got a nonprofit management certificate when I was before I did my master's degree, when I was working for the Boy Scouts of America, and then the certification both from the National Contract Management Association, NCMA, the Certified Federal Contracts Manager one. So that was the genesis of that was, again, so we were a small company. We had many people wearing multiple hats. So we, as the bid and proposal team, my boss and I, and then eventually me and the 2 or 3 folks that work full time for me, and the folks that were on our teams, we had to do a lot of our own interpretation of what these solicitations were. So I needed to get educated, and I think I I think my leadership and I came to kind of the same conclusion at the same time. I need to understand what all these clauses are, because a part of the solicitation, it's a 100-page solicitation. 50 pages of that is all of this legal contract oriented. At that point, you might as well have been a foreign language to me. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can read it, and I think I understand it, but yeah, I'm not your lawyer, and I'm not even a jailhouse lawyer at this point. I have no idea if this is impactful to us or not. I could fill out representations and certifications, the reps and certs, no problem after a while, but actually reading it and giving the leadership team an indication of here's the various clauses that are in this contract that we want to win. And yeah, it's a shiny penny. But here's some risk that is embedded in these clauses, and being able to articulate that to the folks in my leadership team as one of the only people in the company whose job it is to actually read the whole solicitation, which is, you'd think is a baseline thing, but reading the documents is a key component that executive teams don't have time a lot. They rely on their specialized teams to read them, but then also your specialized teams don't read the whole document. They read the chunks that are oriented to them. So getting that CFCM, Certified Federal Contract Manager certification, it's a pretty extensive amount of study and learning about the federal acquisition regulation and the types of procurements and the ins and outs and the ways things work. And frankly, in the business that I was in, I've used it a lot more as a Shipley consultant, because it's a wider breadth of products and services. But the amount of knowledge that NCMA puts out for earning that certification, and I think it's like a 300 question test or something like that. It's an intense thing, but it gives you a very, very high level of knowledge about and some confidence to say, I know what I'm reading. You can trust me that this is the way that this is supposed to work, both in bidding and in execution of the contract. So that was the CFCM. And then the APMP. So I have the capture practitioner and the bid and proposal practitioner certifications. And before that, I earned the foundation level. So those were from day one part of my growth plan. My company was very bought into the fact that there is a professional association for bid and proposal management, and you need to go. The whole point of earning a certification and getting educated isn't necessarily get a piece of paper. Okay, neat, but go get educated in all of the aspects of the program that makes up that certification. So the APMP body of knowledge, you need to go learn that, and you can sit there and read it, or you can pursue this certification, which is meant to put you through a step-by-step process and then test you out on it. It's a word was seen by my leadership as a worthy endeavor for the test out portion. I can read it and say, yep, I read it, I understood it. How do I know? Well, a third party tested me on it, and so learning the APMP body knowledge, taking more Shipley courses, and also just listening to other organizations, both my peers that are actually out there doing it, or other training organizations. It's just a massive gathering of knowledge, and I count myself lucky that my brain gets bored easily. So going out and learning something new or reading something new, especially when I can put it to use, is always I don't have to push my brain too hard to go intake that. So the practitioner certifications are I think they were both challenging exams, and the amount of actual studying was amazing to me, because it was hey, I'm not necessarily following all the best practices. I kind of fallen into here's what we've always done, and here's what we could do better. And I really need to make sure I go back to the best practices every now and then, because everybody gets into a groove, everybody gets comfortable, but revisiting that as part of a certification process. And then, I've set up some time, probably a quarterly basis to, hey, just go re-engage either with the Shipley proposal or capture manual or the APMP stuff, or just blog articles like something that you or Ashley would put out, or just something that says, hey, re-engage with the process, work on the process that you as a bid and proposal professional are executing. Don't just be in it all the time. Take a step back, work on it. So I found the certifications very valuable. Again, not for the piece of paper, but for the actual program, the pathway that they take you down to learning, and the resources that you get to actually keep your knowledge base up in the network contacts that you develop.
Thank you, Matt. As you rightly said, when you understand, okay, writing, then progressing your career with lifelong learning is always a great thing to do. And I'm glad that you went on to pursue continuous learning with this. And also, you're not just learning, you're also sharing. Talk us through the university faculty advisor roles that you have been doing, including lectureships roles for James Madison University and any other universities that you work on.
Sure. So I said earlier, my brain gets bored easily. So one of the things that I've always enjoyed doing is started when I was in secondary school and high school as a swimmer. I really got excited when my coach asked me as one of the depending on what event it was, solidly top 3 swimmers on the boys swimming team, that, hey, you should come be the, he coached the girls team as well, because they were in a different season. And he said, hey, you should come be a manager. What does that mean? Well, teach them stuff. Okay, let's do it. I'm 16, 17 at that point. But it was really cool. So I was a backstroker and a distance freestyle swimmer. So the distance freestyle, there's not a lot to it. You have to train and get your lung capacity and muscle capacity up so that you can set a cruise control and go. Cool, neat. But the backstroke, there's a lot more technique to it. And so I started my manager role as a team manager for the girls swim team, Corning Hawks swim team. He said, go take the freshman backstrokers and just make them better. And so over the course of the season, I try to do that. And about right at the end of the season, 2 of the girls got personal records in the 100-yard backstroke at a invitational or section conference championships or whatever. And just the beaming smile on their face that shot back over to me on the pool deck and they pointed up was kind of infectious. So the coaching, being able to take folks who are in an earlier stage of their career, or not necessarily younger, just could be, hey, we don't know anything about this, or we know less about it than you do. Can you tell us? Having the ability to coach and mentor, provide some fulfillment for me. And so I wasn't really, after I left the department head role and became a consultant, I wasn't responsible for I take it back. I started the professors while I was still a department head, because I got in touch again. I was like, okay, I'm responsible for the professional development of these people, and at that point they were all young people, and it was infectious. So I said, okay, I think I can do more about this. So I had a cup of coffee with the academic unit head in the management department of the College of Business. Said, hey, I've got this background, I've got this master's degree, liked interacting with younger people, and not only saying here's my experience, but challenging their minds. And in addition to being fulfilling coaching people, it's also fun to kind of challenge their assumptions and just lead them down a path and say, guess you don't think the way you thought, do you? Because I made you think, and now you're actually thinking about the world instead of just accepting something that you read in a book or somebody standing up in the front of the classroom told you. So I took an adjunct at night in the evenings, a role teaching an interpersonal skills course, and that was something that the university really valued having not a professional academic teaching. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just, hey, you have to be out there in the world. You're a department head. You have to actually lead people day to day in a way that our professors don't. Can you impart some of that? Yeah, sure, absolutely. So the tactic I took in the interpersonal skills course through all of it was, hey, guys and gals, I'm not telling you any of this is right. I'm telling you, you need to be aware of all of these things so that you can make choices, so that you don't interact with your peers and your superiors and your subordinates in a way that is by accident. You need to be very purposeful about how you interact with people so that you can build a team and be successful. So I really enjoyed that and getting interacting with the college students. And most of them are sophomores, some of them are juniors. So they're 19, 20 years old, trying to figure their way out in the world. So being able to bring some real world perspective and injecting that into their curriculum alongside purely academics perspective was, I think, a good thing for them. And it was also just really interesting for me because they challenged my assumptions too. I tell them, hey, this is the way I did XYZ in this situation. And I remember specifically one instance, one of the young ladies piped up and said, "Why did you do that?" I looked at her and said, "What are you talking about?" "I just told you that it worked." She's like, "Did it?" And so I'm like, "Okay, say more. Please challenge me. By all means, I'm not here to give you all the answers. I don't have all the answers. Your head's screwed on just as straight as mine is. I just happen to have, a couple more years on the earth than you do. So please explain to me what your fresh perspective is telling you." And she did. And I thought about it. And at the next class, I started off with saying, you know what? She was right. Yes, I handled it this way, and yes, it worked. But I didn't anticipate the long term. It worked in the short term, I should say, and I didn't anticipate the long term consequences of the decision that I made or the way I handled it with that particular employee. And so, thank you. So it helped me too. Some of the saying that the best way to learn something is to teach it, is definitely true. So that helped me, and hopefully they got some value out of it, and it's enjoyable.
I'm glad, Matt, that you are learning on one side and also sharing on the other side. And again, these roles, you made it sound simple, but it looks like it is to be, and you are just a faculty advisor at the same time being an adjunct professor. Then you're also very early on, you're a manager for the swimming team and more. So thank you for sharing. So before we enter into what we call the Nutters round in honor of Howard Nutt, talk us through the 3 things not many people know about you.
3 things not many people know. Well, let's see. So I guess that so I this was something that a lot of people didn't know before I took my master's program, that I made a point to project it constantly when I interact with people. So I have a very matter-of-fact presentation style. When I get up in front of a room, or if I'm saying something in a meeting, I take the perspective that it's been through my brain. This is the best I've come up with, and so this is what I'm going with. This is what I think. And sometimes that matter-of-fact, confident presentation style, bordering on arrogant sometimes, I was told, and upon reflection, yeah, it's true. It's like, look, this is what I think. I'm going with it. Could other people have input? Yeah, probably. Turns out, when you're in your 30s instead of your 20s, you take on that useful perspective that you don't have all the answers, which is good. But so one of the things that people didn't know, and again, now that I try to project, is, look, I have this very matter-of-fact presentation style. That does not mean I am married to this or in any way emotionally attached to this idea. I am advocating for it because I think it's the right one. But the moment you prove me wrong, I will pivot on a dime and be the biggest advocate for your idea, because I want the endeavor to be successful. So please do not mistake my matter-of-fact presentation style and confident extrovert nature for rigidness or aggression or anything else. So that was a self-aware opportunity that I had, that I took advantage of, was putting this out there in front of every meeting so that people don't know it, but I want them to know it now, because it works better when you're interacting with people. If you level set and say, this is how my brain's wired, this is how I interact, but I want to tell you that I am aware of it, and I want to give you a way, not really a permission structure, but a way to puncture it that I am telling you is okay. Like, please push back on me. So that's the first thing. Second thing, I guess, is I have, so within sight of me right now are 3 of our 7 animals. So my wife and I have 4 cats. I'm sorry, 8 animals, 4 cats and 4 dogs. And they're all rescue animals, and we only intentionally went out and got, I think, 2 or 3 of them. The others just kind of happened to fall in. But so we're big animal folks, and hanging out with them is a high joy. So I love the dogs, and the cats, seem to tolerate me. So I like having them around. And then the third thing is I've discovered over probably mostly the last 2 or 3 years that it is really important when you're trying to structure, even if it's not necessarily a career path, but just kind of your way forward in life. I found that, this is not original to me. I did not come up with this. I read it somewhere, and I cannot for the life of me at the moment remember where it is, or where it's from, or who to give credit to. But to take on each new opportunity in life as an, what, not necessarily the money or the job, or here, how can I use this to climb a ladder or go bigger, but what am I going to learn from that opportunity? And it seems to work out pretty well. I want to learn how to do X, Y, Z, or I want to expand my thinking into area, A, B, or C. And if you're taking a role or you're taking a job because it's a skill you want to learn, like if you want to learn how to shamelessly go ask people for money, you do what I did right out of college, and you become a nonprofit executive and go ask for money. Alternatively, I hear the Catholic Church has a great course of instruction for the priesthood on how to raise money, because they've been doing it for centuries. Same thing with bid and proposals. If you want to learn, if you're a proposal coordinator and you want to learn how to be a proposal manager, great. Go find a job that does that, or go find a mentor that can teach you stuff. If you're trying to become the vice president of bid and proposals and you think the proposal manager is the next step, okay, probably is. But what are the skill sets you need to learn? The skill sets you need as a proposal manager are not the same skill sets you need to be a vice president. So how are you going to learn those? So that's the third thing, I guess, that people don't know about me, is that I kind of had that, I don't know if it's an epiphany, but take jobs or take volunteer opportunities, take anything in life, and just kind of ask the question, what skill set am I going to get from here? And what can I learn about the world?
Well said there, Matt. I loved it. Thank you for sharing, Matt. And again, let's begin the rapid random fire question round. There is no right or wrong answer. As Howard not always do, it's not as round. So whatever comes in your mind is the answer. Quick, fast. Let's just proceed. Number 1.
Sure.
What's in your music playlist now? What are you listening to?
So I have an Imagine Dragons Spotify playlist geared up, and that is the work music. So it's I don't know what's in it. Spotify does, but it's the Imagine Dragons playlist is the background work music that I had on right before I got on with you.
Nice. What do you normally eat for breakfast?
Super simple, super boring. Bowl of Cheerios with 1% milk and a cup of coffee.
That's nice. What was the last gift you gave someone?
Let's see. My wife's birthday was last month.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what I gave her. Shows you how much thought I put into it, I guess. No, that's not true. I put a lot of thought into it, but I can't remember what it is. So I do not know the answer to that. Although I gave my dog a dog treat this morning. Does that count?
That's good. So what's your favorite food?
Favorite food is well done chicken wings. And I say well done, not in the sense that it is thoroughly cooked. There are many different iterations of a chicken wing, and if you can do it like smoked on a smoker with a certain set of sauces, with a certain set of smoke inputs, it comes out crispy, and you can put some sauce on it or some dry rub, and I would not presume to say I'm a chicken wing snob, but probably pretty close. But they're good. So favorite food, well done, well made, perhaps chicken wings.
Chicken wings, nice. I'm sure you made few people hungry there. That's good. So, when is the last time you wrote a letter, handwritten letter to someone? Do you remember who you wrote to?
I don't, but I guarantee you it was a thank you note. So a handwritten letter, and I'll send them an email. But if it's something that it's I want to thank someone for doing something. And it probably, I don't know if this is the last one, but it's the one that sticks out in my memory. When I transitioned from being an in-house, department head to being an executive consultant with Shipley, I wrote my boss, former boss, because he had sold the company and was on to bigger and better things at that point. But he was the one who hired me. He was the scouting volunteer that initially said, "Hey, if you can get past my executive team, I'll bring you on." But wrote him a thank you note saying, "Hey, here's the appreciation I have for what you did for me, and here's the impact I had on my life." And I attached it to a very large and very expensive bottle of bourbon. And I think he probably appreciated that more than the note, but that's probably the last letter I wrote.
That's so kind of you. So if you have a time machine, what will you do with it?
Time machine, what would I do with it? Well, that depends. If I use the time machine and I can go back and be like completely invisible, then I would go back in history and observe a whole bunch of stuff. That would be interesting to observe. But if I pop out of the time machine and people can see me and hear me, then I'm going forward, because I want to know what I don't want to impact the past. I want to know. I already know what's going on there, but go forward and see what the next big invention thing is, and get in on the ground floor, invest in it.
Nice, that's good. And I know you like reading, so if you were to write a book about yourself, what would you name it?
We'll use the family friendly version of it. How to Not Be a Moron. Yeah, and there might be some other select terms depending on which shelf you want it to appear on or what audience you're going to, but yeah, there's a lot of so in the U.S. military, when you're first become an officer, it doesn't matter what branch you are, you're either a second lieutenant or an ensign. And I think the Space Force has one of those two too. They might have something new, I don't know. But you get a shiny gold bar, and the first lieutenant, your next promotion, gets a silver bar. And I think the collar devices are, there's an equivalent everywhere in the world. You're very entry level officer, the very young, very entry level officer, and the senior enlisted, the Marine Gunnery Sergeant, the Navy Senior Chief that were teaching me at VMI, eventually they would have to salute us and call us, sir or ma'am. I said, but right now we're teaching you about the ways of the world. And they said, you know why the bar is gold? No, Senior Chief, I don't know. He said to the entire class, it's a signal that tells the rest of the world that you are a insert Navy derogatory term here. You are a moron, and the rest of the world should be very careful around you because you think you know stuff, but you don't. So there's a lot of learning that happens, and the ability to take what other people have learned and try to not make those mistakes and just actually learning the lessons of the mistakes you do make. I think would be a really positive book title, because goodness knows I made some humdingers, and there's just by the grace of some of the people around me in leadership roles, they're like, you screwed up, you didn't screw up that bad, so we'll use it as a teaching moment, not as a reason to shove you out the door. Okay, thanks. So how to not be a moron. I'm Matt Dale. I like it.
So I know you always, take an opportunity, try it, and then do more if you like it. Otherwise, move on to the next one. What's something you have tried that you will never ever try again?
I've tried. I would never try again. That's an interesting one. I don't know. So said a couple times, brain gets bored easily. But I'm always up for not only trying new experiences, but going back and trying something different. If they're trying something I've already done, if something has changed, and this is another thing that you can bring back to a bid and proposal team. Somebody says, we've tried that, it hasn't worked. Well, did you do it yesterday? No, we tried it 10 years ago. Didn't work. Okay. Well, the universe is different now. There's different people, there's different circumstances, there's different rules. It's a different thing. Let's go back and try it again. You never know. And so nothing really sticks out in my head of what I wouldn't do again. But if you had to nail me down, it would probably involve something with a really hot or spicy pepper. I don't think that's worthy of repeating. Those hurt. So
That's a good one. That's a good one. So if you could visit any place in the world, where would you choose to go and why?
So I'll do you one place. It would be dependent on time. So is it what, like, visit today or use your time machine, visit at a certain point. But visit today, on my bucket list is a combination of Ireland and the Highlands of Scotland. It's very, very achievable. Just have to, put it in the budget, and maybe we'll go have a cup of coffee and I can convince the IRS it was a business trip or something. Go into the wilderness or the Highlands and say, look, this is nature, and there's minimal impact of humans, and you can get that in a lot of places in the world, luckily still. But Highlands of Scotland is high on the bucket list, and I will go there eventually. And I'll come see you when I land at Heathrow or wherever, and we'll hang out before I go up there.
What do you get every time you go for grocery shopping?
Every time I go for grocery shopping, unfortunately, I get something that has purely artificial sugar in it, and not I'm not talking like chocolate or something that has some natural ingredients. I'm talking like a Willy Wonka. Like, there is nothing real about this at all. It is just pure artificial sugar. The thing that they say is more addictive than heroin. It's a bad habit. But I got a sweet tooth that isn't great. But I try to keep it to the small package instead of the big package. So there's unfortunately, that is my answer to what do I get every time I go to the grocery store.
Oh, wow, that's nice. So what's the most you have ever spent on something you absolutely did not need at all?
Yeah, need is a strong connotation, right? It's a want. So luckily I have a significant other that is she's a good yin to my yang. I'm the ready, shoot, aim guy, and she's the meticulous. We should think about this before we pull the trigger. So as far as the most spend, I don't have a good answer for that. I can tell you what the most expensive thing in our house is. It's laying right next to me on a couch. Spent more money on this dog than I have on my car, because her medical bills were necessary and she was worth every penny.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. And that's the end of the Nutters round. Let's move into the gratitude round. So who are the people who have been the most influential in your life and career?
That is actually a fairly easy one. Bill Strang, who I mentioned, who was the owner of the company that got me in, he gave me a shot and gave me the training, and then eventually the trust to say, hey, this is my company and we live on long-term contracts, and I'm holding you responsible. So he had a big influence and was a great mentor. And then my immediate superior, Neil Sinatra, also at the same company, heart of a teacher, both retired Navy senior chiefs. For for what's that's worth. If you need a good leader or someone that knows how to develop people, go find a senior enlisted person, at least from the American military. I would imagine that translates to international as well. If you can find, officers are good, you need them, but your senior enlisted folks are the real. That's where the rubber meets the road. So those two, and then the third is a lady named Patricia Krebs, and she was I first met her through Shipley. When I was with my former company, we hired Shipley, and she was the Shipley consultant that they just happened to send. And unfortunately, we lost her to COVID last year. But she spending. I think we spent a grand total of probably 80 or 90 days locked, on different proposals, locked in the same, what we affectionately called the Bat Cave. And it was one of those interior in the building conference rooms, no windows, unless you exit it, you don't know what time of day it is. But I learned a lot about how to do a proposal from just being locked in a room with a wonderful lady who had forgotten more about how to do proposals than I'll probably ever know. So that was a great influence as well.
Thank you, Matt. So who is the kindest person you know?
Kindest person I know. I would have to go with one of those three that's on my list, and that would be Neil. He's just a jolly gentleman that doesn't always cheerful and always has the best perspective on things, and he's I've never really heard him say an unkind word about anyone, even though some of them really deserved it. He found the best way, including me. Sometimes he'd have a kind word instead of knocking me over the head.
That's nice, man. Matt, what advice do you have for fellow bid and proposal professionals?
I think the primary piece of advice is don't buy into the narrative that we need to work 12-hour days and burn the candle at both ends in order to be successful. If you plan your work and your company or group or whatever, if it's properly resourced, you don't need to be the hero. You can do it normally and have a life outside of bid and proposals. And I see a lot of folks and maybe it's a positive for some folks, I don't know, but spending on a 30-day turn, that they come one right after another, spending 12 hours cranking away at something is not my idea of fun or a good work-life balance. So if you plan your work well, you use a process, and you take it to your leadership and say, these are the resources I need to accomplish this, hopefully they'll say yes. If they don't, sometimes you just gotta suck it up and do it. But if they say no repeatedly and say, no, you got it, you can do it, I've seen you do it before, go do it, get out, go somewhere else. So that's kind of the realization that my biggest light bulb moment that I've had is it's a profession that it's a specialized profession. It's skilled labor. You can't just throw somebody in here and say, hey, be a writer, go be a proposal manager. It's different. It's a healthy mix of the creative arts and the science aspect of the world. So plan your work, resource it so that you and your team is not burning midnight oil constantly, or you will crash and burn.
That's a great advice, Matt. Thank you for sharing. Matt, is there any part of your life or career, or is there anything else you would like to add to the podcast episode before we close it?
I think only to re-emphasize the point you made earlier, Baxter, which was if you're curious about expanding your knowledge, it'll pay dividends, and keep learning more, and don't get caught up in the climbing of a corporate ladder or succeeding professionally. Life is more than that. So yeah, professional success and making a living, earning a living is important, but do other stuff too. And as bid and proposal professionals, sometimes, like I just mentioned, we don't have the time to do that because we have a deadline and et cetera, et cetera. But make time for yourself, and you only live once, so do that. And if whoever you're currently working with or for is not happy about that, it's fine. You got a skill set that is very valuable. Go find some place that values you, because it's out there.
That's a powerful one, Matt. Thank you for that. Matt, at the very end, we have the APMP NCA MAC coming up. Any final words on MAC and your association with the NCA chapter?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking that. So National Capital Area Chapter of APMP, out of Washington, D.C. So we are the chapter that is sitting at the seat of the largest procurement entity in the world, which is the U.S. federal government. So we take, we put that right out front. So we are focused on government procurement, and it's geared toward the U.S. government, but governments around the world, especially ones that are closely aligned with the United States as far as their procurement rules, UK, Australia, et cetera. They not necessarily aligned in the rules, but the fact that there are rules that and a rule book that is followed consistently. So the Mid-Atlantic Conference is the chapter's annual conference that we put on. It's going to be happening October 12th, and we have a slate of bid and proposal and capture professionals that are going to be coming in and presenting to us, both from industry and from government. So we have a keynote speaker, which is to be announced soon, and I think by the time this comes out, you'll have that in your inboxes. And we also have a keynote panel that's made up of senior government folks from the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Defense and a couple other interesting places that we really encourage you to come out and learn, not only from industry all-stars, but from our customers, from the government, saying, here's bid and proposal professionals, what you can do to make our lives easier as the evaluators. And if you make our lives easier and we can evaluate you clearly, we might be able to evaluate you strongly too and pick you as a partner. So you don't have to be in Washington, D.C. You don't have to be in the United States to attend NCA's Mid-Atlantic Conference. It will have a hybrid option. You can attend virtually. You can see all the sessions. Unfortunately, you will not get to experience the signature drink that will be part of our happy hour after closing. But we might be able to send you the recipe, and you can do it. So anywhere in the world, it's going to be October 12th, and it'll start at 9 a.m. Eastern time, U.S. East Coast, and we'd love to have you join us, because there is going to be some powerful presentations, and there is going to be some really insightful content just from the preparation chatter that I've been a part of from our government counterparts, and they are pretty excited about the opportunity to speak to industry and say, hey, this is what we need from you, and here's what we need you to do. And I'll give you a preview, Basker. One of the headlines that they're going to present is very simple: follow instructions. And and it was news to me, but in the preparation conversations, that's one of the things that industry sometimes does not do very well. Just like our the first day in kindergarten, do what you're asked to do. Follow the instructions that the solicitation gives. Don't rethink it. Don't anticipate what the government needs or try and apply your own logic to it. Just answer the solicitation the way the solicitation asks you to. So I thought that was really interesting, is that was one of the primary things that they had. Self-awareness thing for industry, back to basics. So that's, hopefully everybody can attend either on the, if you're on our mailing list, the National Capital Area Chapter, you'll get an email, but you can also find us on LinkedIn, and we'll be publishing the registration links and giving you previews of the sessions very soon.
Thank you, Matt. That was very useful. It was an absolute pleasure to have you with us, Matt. Thank you to you, your partner, everybody at Shipley, APMP, NCA, and your past colleagues, family, friends, all the good health and happiness. Continue to inspire, continue to share, continue to care. Thank you so much, Matt. Thank you. And I will keep you posted. Stay healthy.
Thanks, Pastor. Glad to be with you.
To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Please visit batchuscribble.com/podcast to listen to this episode and check out any of our other previously recorded episodes. If you've enjoyed today's interview, don't forget to subscribe, review, and share the Scribble Talk podcast. We hope you'll check out our next episode where we interview another industry expert and special guest. Until then, it's Ashley Kays,
Pastor Sundram,
signing off.